Hello everyone and welcome. So today we are going to outline your exact journey on how to becoming a real programmer. Okay. So but before we start, let's talk about our channel promise. Okay. So when you look at other online tutorials, right, you may actually come across various channels in YouTube, right? So for learn about programming. So you will notice a pattern. So they teach a syntax at first, they teach you the commands at first and rush through the first example with very little focus on real problem solving. Okay, so what we are actually doing things differently here, right? So we address the most important hurdle. So how to think like a programmer at first. So we will learn how to break down the complex problem using real life examples. And we are going to treat Python simply as a one tool in our toolkit. So of course, I'll tell you why we actually choose a Python, and later we will show you exactly what to do when you encounter an errors, and ultimately our goal is to make you a real programmer, not just someone who copies a code from online. Okay, so who is this road for? So it is really designed for a school students, non-IT professionals looking to pivot them into the IT field, and of course for the college beginners starting from absolute zero. So what do you need before we begin? So the prerequisites are very simple. So first, curiosity and patience, really the patience, okay, and a dedication to practice. And as for your toolkit, you will need a VS Code, a Python, and of course, physical notebook and pen for drafting your thoughts, and most importantly, the willingness to make a mistakes, because mistakes are how we learn. Okay, so mistakes will actually make you a real programmer. Okay, now let's look at the roadmap. So you don't actually get panicked by seeing this roadmap, okay? So because I'm breaking down into really the big steps instead of like chunking everything into a single thing, okay? So first, we will actually do a setup, what we actually like really require to become and to do a programming. Okay, so that is actually the setup. So getting your environment ready and learning how to approach the real failure and think in steps. So breaking down the daily task into the logical sequences and of course the values and memory. So how computer stores information when it comes to the Python, okay, and decisions. So teaching the computer how to choose between the different path and repetition. So letting the computer do the boring stuffs. So if it is a repetitive, we will actually like instruct the computer to do those boring stuffs for us. Okay, and reusable thinking. So packaging our logic so that we can use it again and again. Of course, you don't actually like think about what the statements are like a function, parameter, return values and all. You don't need to worry about at this moment. Okay, so we will learn when we actually move forward. And of course, collection, managing a large group of data very efficiently. You can actually ignore it for now. Okay, I'm just telling you the roadmap. And of course, the real problem. So tying all this concept, what I have discussed you so far, together to build a fun functional software. Okay, and finally, we will build things that you can actually show to the world. Okay. So you may be wondering, why are we starting strictly with Python, right? So it is really a beginner friendly language with highly readable syntax. So it is perfect for the students because it lets you focus on learning the concepts rather than fighting with a complicated formatting. Plus, it is a very powerful language used for automation data, web development, and AI. Okay, but just as important as what we will do is what we won't do, right? So that I mean, so what are we actually avoiding now? Okay, so language hopping. So we will actually pick one and we will stick to it. Okay, so many people are actually like interested in learning as many languages, but for beginners, taking one language is really important because we will actually make you a real programmer by sticking with only one language. Because if you know how to think like a programmer, then you can actually do a coding in any of the languages. Learning the programming language is not the hardest stuff, but think like a real programmer is actually the real problem. Okay, and of course, memorizing too many commands. We can actually use a Google or Chat GPT or any of the AI tool to make it happen. So don't actually memorize too many commands. So it's completely like not so useful to memorize everything. Okay, so we have everything in our hand, like AI tools such as Claude, ChatGPT, or we have a Google, right? So frameworks too early. So we need a strong foundation first. Okay, so before actually like getting into the frameworks, of course, I'll tell you what frameworks are in the upcoming videos. So you don't need to worry about what the frameworks are about. Okay, we will actually make our foundation a strong at first, right? And we won't actually do a copy paste from outside. If you don't understand it, don't paste it. Okay, we will actually like make a learning step by step. Don't even actually copy code from my system, or you can actually type it by your own. Okay, and finally the advanced shortcuts. We will write the things out the long way before we learn the tricks. Okay, so the roadmap really requires an effort, but it is highly achievable. Okay, so if you look at the template that we are actually using for every lesson, right? So we will actually start with a real problem that is actually the hook of our every lesson, and we will explain you those concepts in a very simple language. Of course, if required, we will actually use the same tool what I'm actually showing you now, with for a visual purposes, and we will write a program in code, I mean program in Python to make it happen. Okay, so when some issues happen, right, when we make a mistake, we will know how to fix it a step by step. Okay, so this is how we'll actually make every person into a real programmer. And of course, what is the final outcome, right? What student become. So at the end of this channel videos, after going through the channel video, so you guys will become like can explain a problem before writing into, I mean writing a code, and can read and understand any Python programs without any fear, and can build a small useful projects, and you will continue learning any language later because you have a confident of think like a programmer. Okay, so the main tagline of my channel is you learn Python slowly, you think clearly, you build a software confidently, and you will really become a programmer one day for sure. So thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and I will see you in the next lesson.